Hi guys. Hello, happy 2020. So excited to be back. And I know I've been MIA for like, I don't know, 2 months. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyways, I'm so glad we're together today. And we're going to be talking about exciting stuff. And as usual, it's all about the love of God. Uh, Remember, God is love. And it doesn't say that it's anything else except love. And I'm so glad God is not anger. God is not jealousy. God is not, I don't know, any other thing, whatever things that you think He did before. He's not any of those things, but He is love. And that makes me feel super excited because if God is love, it means that I can really rest in that love. And I know He can love me unconditionally because well, I could never be perfect enough to earn God's love because I mean, He's too perfect and He's too good, too great, too awesome for me to ever think I could ever earn His love. But it says that God is love and He loves us unconditionally, which I was thinking about the other day because I realized, okay, we're always talking about God being love, but at the same time, we also have other people that seem to be misrepresenting God, even on the pulpit, not just on the pulpit in general talk, other Christians, because I mean, they think like that, so they can't help it, but say some of these things to other people. And this myth always continues to, go on, where people are literally afraid of God, thinking that He's out to get them, thinking that He's out to judge them, and yet He made a sacrifice. He brought in His Son to die for us. Before we even asked for it, we didn't even ask, we didn't pray for it, He just did it. He sacrificed, He took the heaven's best treasure and He gave it to us. And we didn't even ask. In fact, we were busy blaspheming Him and we were, mocking Him, saying all sorts of things about Him. And yet, even in that situation, He gave us His best, Christ, to come die for us so that we could be admitted into His presence, not based on our doing, but based on Christ's perfection. And now it says in the book of John, as He is, so are we. As He is at the right hand of the Father, so are we in this world. So if He's righteous, I'm also righteous. If He's beloved, I'm also beloved. And if He's not lined up for judgment right now, so am I. I'm also not lined up for judgment. So there's no need for us to be fearing judgment, walking in fear of judgment, walking in fear of how God is going to, suddenly strike us with lightning because we didn't do that or we did that last week or last year or whatever. But instead, we should be walking in the perfect love. And it says in the word, perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. How does it cast out fear? When you know and you're truly in God and you understand how much He's done for you, you understand His love. Inside that perfect love, you have no fear. You don't fear judgment. You don't fear what He's going to do next week because of what you did last week, because you know that you're inside perfect love. And you're not just inside perfect love, but it's a perfect love that's unconditional, that loves you regardless of who you are, regardless of what you do, regardless of what you don't do. So that makes me really excited because I was thinking the other time, you know, even if, we're talking about, the big hunks, the strong guys that lift weights, that can literally throw around weights and stuff. If such a guy is to fall in love with this dainty little woman, trust me, the first thing he does is not to go threaten that girl with, oh, you don't know what will happen to you if you're not with a strong guy like me in this neighborhood. In fact, what he does is to go show her some tender, loving kindness so that the girl finally starts, to feel like, I think I could be with this guy. If I'm not with him, what am I doing? Because it's good to be with him. It's wonderful to be with him. It's nice to be around him. It feels good because he makes you feel good, because he loves you and he treats you well. And he shows you goodness. Now, the amazing thing is that, while men can do that with all our wickedness, when we know someone, this person loves that guy, we can see with his actions that, okay, that guy is in love because he's good to the person that he loves. And yet, our God, the one who is said to be love, the one who's supposed to have love greater than ours, is the guy that threatens people with hell before they can come in. He is the guy that goes around, preaching about hell and all the consequences of not coming to him. What kind of love is that? That's not love. That's literally, in our world, we call that an obsession. he's a stalker or whatever, he's a psycho, he should be arrested and, thrown into some mental asylum. Because how do you force people because you love them? How do you tell people, do this or else I'm gonna kill you? No. If you love someone, even if they're in danger and you're in a position to help them, yes, I'm not saying that people are not gonna go to hell. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that surely if God really cares about us, the one thing that he wants to do when he's wooing us, when he is inviting us into his presence, is not to threaten us with hell. It's not to threaten us with the strength that he has to do anything, because he has the power to do anything, so he can just squash you like an ant. No, that's not what he wants to do. That's not what he's doing. Because if he loves us, he wants us to come to him, not grudgingly, not like we're being forced to pay taxes, but come willingly. Willingly. You approach and you're like, I want to be here. And if someone loves you, they also don't want you to just be there because they're forced to, because they feel like they're obliged to be there. If someone loves you, they also want you to have choice, to be able to choose them to. Hence, if that's if that's how we feel, then your joy is complete. If someone that you love also loves you back and they're with you of their own accord, then even your heart, the joy is complete. But not when people feel like they're being forced. It's like, every other time when I was listening to the word, I was like, oh my God, I need to do that, I need to do this, I need to do that, God is going to curse me. That's not love. That's literally an obsession. Someone who's obsessed with you, who says, I'm going to have you no matter what. And that's not God. That's a misrepresentation of God. And I'm so glad now I'm finally free, because I realized that, oh my gosh, my God is so good. And all this time it's just because I've been relying on other people, relying on wrong information to make decisions about my relationship with God, and yet I never went to him straight. But now when you go to him and you really look at him, like, if he is love, then he's got to be love, and surely his love has got to be better than the love of men. It has got to be better than the kind of love that we know. In fact, the best kind of love that we know is the mother's love. And the mother goes out of her way. She sacrifices her sleep, sacrifices her time, sacrifices her body for her child. And yet it says that even though a mother may forsake her suckling child, I will never forsake you. I'll never leave you. That's powerful, guys. That's really powerful. And it's something that really needs to sink deep inside us. Because when we know of his love first, then even our service or whatever it is that we're doing for him, we're not doing it out of ignorance. We're not doing it out of fear. Because when we're doing it out of fear, then we're not in perfect love. So it means we're not perfectly inside God, because we're not understanding him. Because he is love, remember? So if you're not in love, that means you're not in God completely. Then you have some fear. But when you're inside him, perfect, when you're inside his perfect love and you understand it, then you have no fear, because you know that whether I am perfect or not, he still loves me. Whether I have a pimple the next morning or I don't, he still loves me. So you don't walk in fear anymore of, maybe he won't like me if he sees me with this pimple today. Maybe he's gonna tell me to leave if he sees that I didn't cook yesterday. In fact, I was just reminded of the story of Martha and Mary. When I was looking at that story and I was listening to how Jesus was always telling his disciples, I have come to serve. The Son of Man has come not to serve. Sorry, not to be served, but to serve. And he went to his disciples and he said to wash their feet. And you hear Peter even going to the extent to say, I can't let you wash my feet. And he says, if I don't wash your feet, then you have no part with me. So what is Jesus saying? Most of us would think Christ came to be served. We thought we are the ones who are supposed to be serving him, doing this. But just think about it. If you are the miserable beggar from the street over there, and you take your most prized possession or whatever it is that you've come across as a beggar, you wrap it around and you go present it to the king or to the president. Literally, no matter what it is, no matter how much effort you put in it, he's a king. He has no value in whatever miserable stuff that you're doing. He's a king. He has everything already. He doesn't need your little gift. In fact, he can just downright throw it into the bin. That's why even God goes on to say that your works are like filthy rags before me. What does that mean? Whatever it is that you're putting effort thinking you're doing for me, you're serving me, you're trying to do for me, it's like filthy rags before me, because I have everything. You cannot meet my standard. I am the king here. I am the guy. I'm the ish. So I am not here looking for service from you, a miserable beggar. I am come to serve you, sweetheart. Why don't you take a seat and let me serve you? And that's what Mary understood. Mary, when Christ came into their house, in the story of Martha and Mary, Christ came into the house, and you know what Mary did? She didn't look at him as a human being in his tiredness and hunger and whatever as a human being. No, she looked at him as God. And she could see that this guy is full. And she went and then she sat down and she started to receive of God's fullness. Martha, on the other hand, looked at him as a human who needed service, who needed food, who was tired, who needs to be served. Which is how sometimes we look at God. We look at him as a human being and we want to serve him. And we think if we don't do this, we do. In fact, we're even worried sick in our heads. But what did Christ say to Martha? You know, it was amazing because Martha, although she took it upon herself to serve, she's like, no, I need to do this, I need to do that. After she had taken it up upon herself, she started complaining again. Now she was blaming Mary, blaming Jesus. Yeah, why you, Jesus? Why do you not care that Mary is not helping me to serve? He's still letting her. So she started to blame people now. Why? Because she did not do the one needful thing. In fact, Jesus is supposed to tell her that, you know what, Mary, you are mindful about many things. Most of us sometimes we become mindful about many things because we're trying to serve God out of our own thoughts, out of our own thinking of this is probably what we're supposed to do. And we even impose it, go on and try to impose it on other people. We see the Marys chilling, they're receiving of the goodness of God, and we're like, why, God, are you letting these guys just chill? They should be working like me because you've already imposed it upon yourself in your mind. You're thinking, we need to be doing this, and you impose it on other people. And then you get angry that those people are doing what you think they should be doing. And yet, the one thing that is needful, which is to sit at his feet, listen to his voice, listen to his heart, let him pour out of his greatness and his fullness as God into you, to serve you, to wash your feet. Instead, you're the one trying to wash his feet, you're the one trying to do stuff. And when you don't know, when you haven't spent time with someone, when you haven't sat down with someone, you're always wondering, okay, how am I supposed to please them? And yet, the one thing that is crucial for you to do, which is to sit at his feet, listen to his heart. That is exactly how you become enabled to go and do the needful things. If Mary were to get up from there after she had heard how Christ had described his journey or whatever it is that he was telling her, then she would get up with an understanding of exactly what to do or what Christ needed her to do. Martha, on the other hand, just stood up and started to do everything, mindful of all the other things, mindful of all the things that you need to serve in this department, to serve, to do this, and we forget the needful thing, to sit at his feet, receive of his love, receive of his service, be served first, because it says that we love him because he first loved us. So we first need to be loved, to feel that love, to absorb it, to drink of it, to feed on it. And after we are fed on that love and we're full of it, that's when we can finally go to love him back. That's when we can finally go and serve and do stuff and go all out. But we don't do that without knowing the love of God. In fact, we don't prescribe people to do stuff when they haven't met the love of God, because it's not based on them just doing stuff for God when they have not met the love. But they need to first hear the love, know the love, understand the love. Then they can finally go to do all those things that you want them to do. In fact, they don't have to do anything, just need to do what God is telling them to do and what is coming from their heart because they want to. You pay taxes? Not because you want to, but because the government forces you to and you're afraid of consequences. That's not God. God is your family. God is the guy that you work for, not because you're asked to or because you're required to. But it's the guy that you work because you want to, because you love him, and because you know he loves you, because you value each other. Isn't that amazing? For me, I just felt like I needed to just, realize that God has been misrepresented in many ways, and many times we're so afraid of a God who's full of love. And it's not fair. It's really not fair. And I hope you realize it now. It's not fair. There's no need for you to be walking in fear. Perfect love casts out fear, and he loves you perfectly. Don't forget that. See you next time.